YouTube. What's going on? What'd you think of that video yesterday? You know, I thought I'd make a quick one about, like, add a little context to what was, you know, what led up to all of that, right? So when you come from 75, right? They call it I-75, right? I-75 runs from the top, the UP of Michigan, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, right? All the way down to Florida, right? Goes all the way down, right straight north to south. If you're a truck driver or, you know, whatever, you've been on 75. So when you get into Detroit out of Ohio, right? The 210 in Ohio is the last exit before you hit Michigan. From Michigan, you're about 48 miles, exactly 48 miles to the Ambassador Bridge, where then we're going to cross into Canada. So when you get off of 75, you come into like this, you know, little bit of a corral, I'd call it, right? 2 lanes wide, and you're coming in and you make your way, and there's some diesel fuel over here, and then you make your way, and then you enter onto the bridge. You don't go through customs when you're in Detroit, okay? You go through, if you're going to Canada, you go through customs once you're in Canada, right? So you don't have to do anything to cross the bridge. You just get on and go. You better have your paperwork in order once you get on that bridge, though, because if you get across there into Canada, or vice versa, Canada into the U.S., and you don't have your paperwork in order, you can be fined, penalized, big time, right? Big time penalty. Well, as I'm making my way to the entrance of the bridge, there's a fairly substantial parking lot on the opposite side of the diesel pumps. And, you know, guys will pull in here, and sometimes you're waiting on your paperwork to clear, right? You're waiting on customs to clear your paperwork. The broker sent it to the customs. Customs is waiting, you know, on whatever, and the driver's sitting there waiting. And so, you know, if it's backed up, if there's computer problems, which is more often than not, there's a computer problem anymore. You pull in there and you wait, and sometimes you can get. It looks like a truck stop at, you know, 11 o'clock at night, right? Creative parking, parked on top of each other, everything else. It wasn't that bad. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you know, so I get going, and I'm about to get onto the bridge. I'm in Detroit. I'm going to get onto the bridge. I'm going to go into Canada. Now, 2 lanes wide. Well, this driver, I'm about to get on, and this driver, the one that ended up getting arrested, he comes flying from the back parking lot. Of course, I didn't see him. I'm just, you know, driver's lounge. He don't go very fast, you know. I'm not in a big rush, like just doing. You know, I got the tunes on, and beautiful day in the neighborhood, and won't you be mine, you know, all that good happy horse shit. And all of a sudden, he just comes from the back of the parking lot, and literally right in front of me, you know, full stop, yank on the horn, not because I was trying to tell him to go fuck himself, but because when he come in front of me from this direction, now he has to come back and get onto the bridge. And the tail swing from his trailer was gonna fucking take my front end off. So I lay on the horn and get his attention, and he barely stops, like just a big, you know, go fuck yourself driver's lounge, pretty much. You know those drivers, right? And I'm just kind of like shaking my head, but again, I'm not going very fast, and I don't get too upset about too much anymore, you know. At least I try not to. But So he gets, and then as you get onto the bridge now, there's 2 lanes, and it's a crest, right? You're cresting the bridge, and depending on how heavy you are, it's quite a grade, right? Not like a crazy grade, but there's a grade up to crest the bridge. And if you're loaded to the back door, then you know, somebody like me who was going across light, I'd get up and get around you and get up onto the bridge, right? And I'll be honest, I wanted to see what STupiD looks like. You know what I mean? When you know what I'm trying to say. When somebody does something, you're like, I just got to see what STupiD looks like. You know what I mean? Let me see what somebody who behaves like this. What does that look like? And so I get up and I kind of, I get on the throttle a bit, right? And I'm getting up right beside him. Well, I can see that the lane, they're doing some work on the bridge. So it goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane. And I'm in the lane that's got the right of way. The lane that he's in is closing. I'm literally halfway up the side of his trailer, and he's got, he could obviously slow down a little bit, or he could, wait for me to pass. But he doesn't do that. He comes right over at me. I mean, right over at me, to the point where I'm in the oncoming lane of traffic in the bridge. I yank it over, and now I'm on incoming. And of course, I wouldn't have yanked it over if it wasn't clear, but I could see that the lane was clear. I yanked it over and literally prevented a big accident, right? So I'm not gonna bullshit. Yeah, I was pissed at that point, right? I'm like, okay, this is fucking ridiculous, right? This is fucking ridiculous. So I don't get on the horn. I don't start, no bullshit. And we get up and we get over, and now we're in Canada, and there's about 4 or 5 lanes, custom lanes open, and I decide I'm gonna stay right behind him. I'm going to get his trailer number. I'm going to get his truck, try and get his truck number. I'll get his trailer. I'll get his license plate, right? And we're gonna find out what's going on here. Well, I'm sitting behind him, and like I said in the video, and 5 minutes goes by, which is a long time. Like, if you're the next one to the booth, like, typically it's about a 2 to 3 minute exchange. You can imagine you've got thousands of trucks crossing every day, right? It's the busiest border crossing in North America, right, for commercial truck traffic. And so they're pretty efficient. So about 5 minutes goes by, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. 8 minutes, 10 minutes, By about the 10-minute mark, I'm going like, is he broke down? Like, is he trying to start his truck? But you can't just like get out of your truck and start walking around out there, right? Like, you don't have that kind of freedom there, right? So anyways, you know what? I'm gonna go straight. So anyways, sorry about that. So he goes, he said, I'm wondering what's going on. Long and short of it is, about 15 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden that's when the video starts. I hear sirens, and I see, the customs agents coming out. I don't know what happened, right? But if I were to speculate as to what was taking place in that moment, I would say that the driver had an issue with his paperwork. He was probably waiting for quite some time. I don't know. I don't know how long, but probably got frustrated. You know how people operate their trucks and they use them as weapons, right? These people who don't have 2 brain cells to rub together, right? They get frustrated. It's like a baby with a shitty diaper, right? They start kicking and screaming and crying and bullshit, right? And they start fucking acting like children. And so he jumped onto the bridge and he started just, I don't give a fuck, and got to the booth, and the customs agent told him, you're gonna go back around, and you're gonna, and whatever the repercussions were, your paperwork's not ready, you can't be over here, right? Your load has not cleared. Essentially, that's what it boils down to. Your load is not cleared. You cannot come into another country without your paperwork being cleared. Hello? So he probably put up a big, fuss, and I could see the customs agents doing like this, like basically telling them, like, I don't care what you're saying or what's going on, right? You cannot, thank you, sir. You're not coming into this country. And at some point, they just had enough, and he probably said something like, something just foul, right? Something that was, I'm going to say, threatening, right? And that's just my speculation. There's no, drug trafficking. There was no, it was just a fucking adult behaving like a child. And at some point, they decided enough is enough. And that's interesting. That's very interesting. Huh. Just water everywhere. And that's what happened. But, I gotta say, right? That's like karma. And I in the video, it may sound like I was being a bit of a prick to the customs agents, but number one, let's get this straight right now. I'm 50 fucking years old, right? You're not gonna some little fucking punk, some 25-year-old punk, gonna start talking to me like I'm his wife, right? Or I'm his boyfriend? I don't think so. You know what I mean? Like, there's something in me that just, I got zero tolerance for that shit. Like most of us, right? You're not gonna I don't care if you got a fucking gun, if I'm in another country, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Act professional. Besides that fact, if you look into the video, if you listen to the video and see what's going on, you can see that in a time like that where there is, something going on, what's the number one thing you're supposed to do? Remain calm, right? These people were not calm. They seemed like they were fucking amateurs, right? And it's like a pilot having an issue, and all of a sudden, the pilot's gonna start freaking out? No, the pilot gets calm, cool, collected. They've been trained. Even us as professional drivers, when something happens, we're not supposed to make these crazy moves and freak out. It's like they call us some of us are professionals, right? We do what we've been trained to do, and it was just like I was caught off guard by it. It was a lot going on in a very short amount of time. I've never personally, as much border crossing as I've done in my career, I've never obviously been through something like that, right? It's going to be a very rare occasion where you're literally front and center, seeing all these this very tactical behavior, guns drawn, everything else, pulling somebody out of there. It's like, what's the odds of that happening? And not to mention, he's telling me to back up. He's telling me to back up, and I got nowhere to go. I mean, you're in a line going into another country. The trucks are lined up and again, right? I was there 20 minutes, right? So, of course the trucks are starting to back up now, one after another after another after another. I can't go anywhere. You know, and he's telling me, back the fuck up. How about shut the fuck up, is what I wanted to say. And I didn't catch it on camera, but when I said to him, like, where do you want me to go? And he's like, he's gonna back up. And he goes running behind to go tell that driver, because, I mean, you got trucks are running, things are, you know, nobody knows what the fuck to do. You know, there's no protocol for this type of situation, right? You don't, you know, when you're in Detroit, or vice versa in Canada going into the U.S. or U.S. going into Canada, before you cross, they don't give you a paper and go, if this happens, this is the fucking muster area. You know what I mean? This is the muster point. No. I mean, you just fucking roll with it. Anyways, I thought it was a pretty cool video. I would have watched it, right? And I'm surprised that it didn't get... I thought it would get some views. It did get some views, and I appreciate everybody who watched it, and I appreciate everybody that commented. You know, that was my first inclination. I gotta post this shit, right? I wasn't nervous, or definitely wasn't scared. Nothing to be scared about. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody's gonna come at me while my truck is running, I will run you over. Just so you know, if you've got a gun in your hand, I'm doing one of these, and then I'm gonna fucking throttle it, and you're gonna be lucky to be alive after, because I'll cut you in half. I remember fucking staying in Baton Rouge early on in my career. I went down there with 3 or 4 tow motors, right? Lift trucks. And I'm down there, and I didn't get down there till late at night. And if you've been in Baton Rouge, in certain areas of Baton Rouge, I was in one of those areas, literally parked in a, you know, it wasn't a Home Depot, but some kind of like just little fucking strip mall. And trust, you know, you can just tell when you're in that kind of an area, right? And I'll tell you what, the only thing I could think of was, I'm leaving this truck running, and if there's any problems whatsoever, I'm going to put it in gear, and I'm out of here. You know what I mean? Fucking Baton Rouge. Yeah, Louisiana, you know, down there in New Orleans, Baton Rouge area, that is nothing to be fucking around with, I'll tell you that. You know, but, yeah, I mean, thanks again for watching the video. It's Friday. I just got done getting loaded. I was close to the house. I'm gonna throw a load of laundry in, and I'm working the weekend again. That's 4 weekends in a row now since I've been back to work. 4 weekends in a row. Every weekend I've worked, and you know, we're doing the damn thing. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be in Virginia. So if anybody's gonna be in Virginia, the middle of Virginia. You know, let me know. We'll hook up. We'll share nightmare road stories or something, or sing each other to sleep or something. But yeah, gonna do the damn thing, and I hope you guys are doing well. Everybody's healthy and happy, and making money. Most importantly, making money. And we'll, you know, maybe I'll throw another video out there. You know, I've been just trying to hit this spot here real quick, blind side. There we go. You know, I hope everyone's doing well. I hope y'all have a great weekend. If you're home,
I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine.
Oh, what the heck?
My shovel
16 tons? What are we talking about? Driver's lounge over and out.